presents the video game, formerly known as Gods and Monsters.
Now that I've played the newly rechristened Immortals Fenyx Rising, I come bearing both good news and bad. The good news is that it's a lot of fun. The bad news is that I really can't work out how the new title fits with the game I've just played. It's only a name, certainly, but Immortals, Fenyx Rising, just sounds so sober. You'd expect it to be stuffed to the gills with stoic heroes, grim battles, and gritty visuals. Kinda like this, only this isn't really reflective of what I played. For the most part, I actually found myself exploring an intensely colourful world populated by mythological beasts waiting to be slain and secrets waiting to be discovered, in which the Greek gods Zeus and Prometheus bickered with one another as they narrated the action.
I'd be listening to your story for days.
It's called dramatic effect.
It's called Where's My Skip Button?
Immortals is anything but po-faced. Instead, it aims to be playful while still giving the player stakes that give their actions meaning. This is a duality that Breath of the Wild, one of Immortals' clear inspirations, got absolutely right back in 2017. In Breath of the Wild, the threat is very real. Calamity Ganon's presence is inescapable, swirling with malice on the horizon, a blight on otherwise gorgeous vistas. And Link is the hero of destiny with the weight of the world on his shoulders. And yet, that overarching story really just sets the scene and gives the player an ultimate destination. The freedom to explore and to play is the point, not so much to be told a story, but to create fertile ground in which to sow your own. The parallels in Immortals are clear. Its mythological Greek setting is in chaos, the veil that separates humanity from the underworld destroyed. Typhon, a towering monstrosity who was imprisoned by Zeus for thousands of years, has escaped and now seeks revenge on the gods. As Fenyx, a warrior shipwrecked upon the game's Golden Isle, you're prophesied to save the gods and defeat Typhon. The threat then is certainly grave and often literally looming on the horizon. But just like Nintendo's classic, it's the call of unfettered exploration that animates the experience. The team has said you'll be able to go wherever you like right from the start, but for my session I was restricted to the Forged Lands, home of Hephaestus, god of blacksmiths and fire. This appropriately rusty and autumnal-hued landscape with its towering fortress, rolling hills and stark cliffs was certainly big enough to get a sense for the possibilities of roaming across the countryside, so while I did do the main objective for the hands-on, relighting Hephaestus' Forge of the Gods and then defeating its automaton boss, I was more interested by the possibilities of exploring. Among other things, I flew across to an island off the mainland where I learned Elia's melody. I got several enormous water wheels turning again. I climbed to the top of the central citadel. I tamed a wild mount, which was a bit disappointing if I'm honest. I fought a cyclops and I made my way to random points of interest on the map. Stamina drives a lot of what you do, determining how high you can climb, how long you can run, and how far you can glide using the wings of Daedalus. So far, so familiar, but stamina also ties heavily into combat, which sees Fenyx wielding the weapons of Greek heroes and harnessing the powers of the gods. She has the sword of Achilles, the axe of Atalanta, and the bow of Odysseus, for instance, all of which, somewhat counterintuitively, come in sets and can have various perks. Meanwhile, the gods also assist with moves that knock enemies up into the air and hammer them into the dirt, to mention a couple. I wasn't able to customize Fenyx's abilities for this hands-on, as the skills were pre-selected, but I'm looking forward to seeing how big the differences between character builds can be, and how the gameplay evolves over the course of Immortals. For my session, Fenyx was already quite powerful, with mid to late game health, stamina, skills, and godly powers to draw on. It still took a little while to get into the rhythm of combat, but before long I found my feet switching between sword, axe, and bow, not to mention getting a feel for the many special moves. I learned how each enemy telegraphed their attacks, whether it was a harpy, Medusa, Cerberus, Minotaur, or towering automaton. And I also learnt that, well, in this build at least, the enemies aren't that smart. There's some finesse in combat, however, with moves like dodge letting you evade attacks and slow down time, Bayonetta style. And I love how Fenyx unleashes her final blow, sending the vanquished foe flying. Combat is a big part of the rhythm of Immortals, but so too is bespoke gameplay. I came across several small puzzles within the world itself, and I also ventured into a couple of the game's vaults of Tartarus.
These portals must have opened when Typhon escaped.
These standalone challenges take place in the underworld and are Fenyx Rising's equivalent of Breath of the Wild's shrines. There are a heap of them spread across the map, and they tie directly into upgrading your stamina. This one had me playing a gigantic pinball table, so hopefully that's an indication that there'll be plenty of variety. I can definitely see players prioritising these vaults to kickstart their stamina pool into gear, and they can generally be spotted by getting to a good vantage point and using Fenyx's farsight. And that's ultimately what I found most engaging in my time with Immortals, picking a spot in the distance or setting a marker on the map and making my way there looking for adventure. Contrary to what the rather stern-sounding title may suggest, Immortals is driven less by its epic tale of gods under threat and more by a desire to give players a sandbox in which to play. I came across a number of touches that underline the idea that it doesn't take itself too seriously, such as the potion brewing and treasure chest opening animations, both of which remind me very much of, well, you know what. But there are larger attempts to put offbeat personality front and centre too. The fourth wall-breaking narration from Zeus and Prometheus is genuinely amusing.
Wait, I feel like I've been here before, but everything looked more purple.
Is she kidding? That's so 2019.
I think she's seen the leaked demo.
And I like the fact that Fenyx is a voice character who can stand up for herself too.
Seems simple enough.
Easy for you to say.
I'm looking forward to seeing what the team does with this unlikely double act in the final game, as it could be one of the key ways Immortals can step out from the shadows of both Breath of the Wild and Ubisoft's own stable of open world titles to carve out its own distinct identity.
It is actually pronounced Ubisoft.
Ah, the French.
Immortals Fenyx Rising will be out later this year, at least if Zeus and Prometheus can be trusted.
How about you tell me all about it this holiday season? Wink.
Did you just say wink out loud?
But stay tuned to IGN in the meantime, because we have a whole lot more Immortals content coming up very soon.